Hello everyone, welcome to Anime No Mi, and thank you for joining us for another One Piece video. In today's video, we're going to talk about two very famous and mysterious characters, and a possible clash between the two. Now, Akainu during the Marineford arc seemed to show that he knew Dragon, because the moment that Luffy activated his Conqueror's Haki, he seemed to recognize that this young man was in fact Dragon's son. Therefore, it could be that Akainu and Dragon knew each other in the past in some kind of way. And since Dragon is Garp's son, at some point, Dragon could have met the high-ranking sailors and consequently, Akainu. In today's video, we're going to talk about the possibility of Akainu and Dragon having met in the past, what that meeting might have been like, and the possible battle they might have had in the past. But before we dive into the video, if you're new to the channel, we'd be absolutely honored if you consider leaving us a like, or even subscribing with a comment letting us know what you thought of our video. It really helps us out and motivates us to make new content, and if you want to support us more, consider sharing the video with friends. But without further ado, let's get into the video. So to begin, with Dragon being the son of an important member of the Marines, Garp is the hero of the Navy, he may have actually had a chance to get to know some of the high-ranking members of the Marines in the past, and this would have been during a time where he was not the leader of the revolutionaries, and so he could have interacted with them and even has a history with some of them. Now this would explain why Dragon knows all the members of high rank within the Marines and might even know some of the former fleet admirals. This would also explain why he hid his last name when he became the leader of the revolutionaries, so that no one would connect him to his father Garp or know the truth about who he was. But during his youth, Dragon could have met Akainu, and at this time they weren't necessarily rivals because Dragon hadn't gone over to that side, and he didn't want to become a pirate, let alone a sailor. Now, if Dragon had met Akainu at this time, he was already a member of the Marines and maybe holding the rank of vice admiral or even captain, so they could have just had a simple conversation. But because of Akainu's serious temperament, it may have been with their divergent personalities that caused an argument between them. Now, whatever this argument might have been, it probably wasn't the reason why Dragon went out to create the revolutionaries, but it still could have left an impression. And even if there was a fight, there probably wasn't a clear winner, since both are very powerful and we really don't know what the comparable strength was at the time. So what could it have been to start this conflict? We know that Akainu has always kind of had his own way in the Marines and followed his own sense of justice and didn't really care about what he had to do in order to get it, even destroying other members of the Marines, because there is no greater sense of duty than his sense of justice. And this sense of justice seems to be limited to pirates, because Akainu doesn't even seem to care about the evils that the world government and the world nobles do around the world. He only cares about stopping pirates and the enemies of the Marines. So really, he and Dragon could have never been friends. And in fact, they could, since then, have been great enemies. We also know that Dragon has not agreed with the world government's actions for quite a while, and he may have had his plans for the revolutionaries quite a long time ago. But we did see that he was watching the last day of the Pirate King, but he kept his face covered so that Akainu or other members of the group would not recognize him. Now, speaking of Akainu, at this time, even though he might have been a captain or a vice admiral, he would have already possessed incredibly great strength. During the Battle of Marineford, we saw him be able to go toe-to-toe with Whitebeard, who is honestly considered the strongest man in the world. Now, even though Whitebeard was older, he could have still easily defeated opponents who stood in front of him. The only one that could stand up to him during the fight was Akainu. And what's most impressive about Akainu in this fight is his endurance. Even though he was hit several times by the power of Whitebeard's Quake fruit, he still managed to stay on his feet, something no other sailor could do. Just consider the damage that Whitebeard's fruit could do. He could take down any opponent with just one punch, and when he used it, it looked like he broke the air like glass. Considering Whitebeard's anger at the fact that Ace was about to be executed, Akainu received several hits from him, punches in which Akainu appeared to be buried in the concrete floor. But even though he would have taken great damage, Akainu remained alive. And not just alive, he was strong enough to continue fighting without at any point showing exhaustion or injury preventing him from fighting, just a little bleeding on his face. Another proof of this endurance is when Akainu faced off against Kuzan, where they matched power and fought each other for 10 days in total. Now, during this fight, they both had to have sustained serious injuries, and despite the enormous amount of time their duel took, at the end of it and completely changing the climate of an island, Akainu came out the winner. After the battle, Akainu apparently really only came out with a large scar on his body, while Kuzan had his leg totally burned by the lava and his arm has a very large scar as well. We also can't forget that since Akainu possesses the Magu Magu no Mi, a Logia-type fruit, he's able to control and turn his body into magma, which allows him incredible flexibility, speed on the battlefield, and of course the power of magma, which is extremely hot and highly explosive, which makes him able to damage people and buildings alike. It's even been said that the Magu Magu no Mi is in fact the most powerful offensive devil fruit out there, and it's perfect for combat. had, and would allow Akainu to melt and destroy pretty much anything. And it also probably was the thing that allowed him to rise quickly in rank from the Marines, because with that power, there's no enemy that he couldn't defeat. I mean, just think about a fight where Akainu turns up and starts fighting. He could turn into magma and start throwing flaming punches and raining down lava, and pretty much gives him visible invulnerability. I mean, he's intangible, and nothing would even want to touch him because he's made of lava. The only thing that could really hit him is Haki. But let's go ahead and change gears for a second and talk about Dragon. And as the leader of the revolutionaries, he is the greatest authority over a powerful and globally active group that has become the main threat to the world government in just a couple of years. Now, even though his power is still fully unknown, we have seen evidence of his strong leadership, and he's been able to make many people trust his words and his convictions. And it's for this reason the revolutionaries became such a large organization and is the main danger, not only to the Gorosei and the Celestial Dragons, but the world government as a whole. Dragon's actions have given him the reputation of the worst enemy of the world nobles all over the world. And despite having such a feared title, he's a kind person and he cares about his people, and the goal really is to save everyone. And even though the whole world is after him, Dragon still remains calm and very analytical so that he can properly organize his whole group, and so that he can locate the places that the world nobles harm and undo this harm in any way he can. Now, although Dragon's combat abilities have not fully been revealed, it's been widely speculated that he possesses some kind of power over the wind, or has some kind of Logia fruit about the wind, because in his first appearance and other appearances, we've always seen some gusts of wind and change in the weather. So it's possible that he may possess a devil fruit that has the ability to generate wind, or even control the weather or clouds, because they always seem to come with rain. We also need to note that as a leader, he's also capable of commanding and training extremely powerful officers. I mean, just consider his right hand Sabo and the 5 commanders who were shown fighting and defeating notable pirates and the Marine members on the Grand Line. And we've also seen Sabo use Haki techniques like Dragon's Claws, which could have directly taught to him by Dragon. Now, Dragon also has that mysterious factor, because even though he was wanted by the Marines, nobody really knew his identity. I mean, we saw the surprise on the Marine member's face when Garp talked about it, which indicated that very early he had to have wanted to start this group of revolutionaries, and that's why he hid all information about himself so that nobody would recognize him or punish Garp for it. But considering the fact that Dragon is never been captured, that alone should talk about his strength and his intelligence, because you'd think with his reward being so high, somebody would have had to have wanted to go after him. In the very few scenes we've seen Dragon in, we can think about the one where he came in contact with Smoker. He decided to really just leave Dragon alone because he wanted to capture Luffy and the Straw Hats, because they were easier targets. So this means that Smoker would have really had to think about if he wanted to take on Dragon. I mean, think about it. You have a small pirate crew that is annoying at this point, or the most wanted man in the world. Now, he couldn't be the most wanted man in the world for no reason, so there must have been a very good reason Smoker passed up on the chance. We've also heard of Vonkov, who talked about Luffy having an incredible ability to survive difficult situations and being able to possess great endurance even when horribly injured, and he compares this determination to Dragon, so perhaps this is something he also inherited. Now, as I said before, there's no real evidence that Dragon possesses a devil fruit, but it's really likely, because in the Kingdom of Goa and Logtown, there have always been strong gusts of wind whenever Dragon shows up, and this has also helped him achieve goals in both places. And although it's not really directly credited to him for these wind gusts, it seems he has the power to create them, or there just happens to be really good timing. I mean, we saw that Dragon was somehow able to reach Sabo's ship that was sinking off the coast of Dawn Island to save the boy just before it sank, as well as doing this without attracting the attention of anyone who was on the scene. So this might indicate that he really does have some kind of devil fruit power. So bringing our video to a close, as I mentioned, if Dragon and Akainu had met at some point, they might not have been friends, and Dragon also went to great lengths to make sure that nobody knew who he was after he started the revolutionaries. However, once he started it, Dragon may have had a chance to face off with Akainu. After all the admirals fight for the world nobles, who are the biggest enemies of the revolutionaries. But for now, let me know what you think about it. Do you think Akainu and Dragon have ever met? If so, do you think they've ever had a fight together? Let us know in the comments below. So before we sign off, we'd like to thank you so much for watching the video until the very end. Make sure you comment on any themes or ideas that you'd like to see in future videos. And also, since you made it this far, give us a like as you head out to take on the rest of your day. Hope to see you all in our next video, and let's keep sailing this giant sea together. Take care.